They thought they destroyed me. I came home one Tuesday evening, expecting peace, and instead found my grandfather's 43-year-old hunting cabin reduced to splinters. Standing in the wreckage was Brittany, our smug HOA president, clutching a clipboard like she'd just won the lottery. She smiled, handed me a $20,000 demolition bill, and told me this was what happens when you refuse to pay your fees. She thought I was powerless. What she didn't know, she had just made the worst mistake of her life. Because I wasn't just another homeowner. I was a federal judge, and her world was about to collapse. You know that moment when your stomach drops and time stops? That was me. I pulled into my driveway and froze. The cabin was gone. Not vandalized. Not damaged. Gone. Flattened. Like it had never existed. My grandfather's cabin, the place where he taught me to fish, where my father proposed to my mother, where 3 generations of memories were carved into the wood. Now, nothing but splinters. Brittany, the HOA president, stood there like a conquering hero. Perfectly pressed blazer, smug smile, clipboard raised like a scepter. Neighbors peeked out, whispering, afraid to get involved. "Jim," she called sweetly, "I was hoping you'd see this in person. Must be a shock." Then, with that plastic smile, she handed me a bill. Demolition fees plus fabricated violations. $20,000 due in 30 days. I stood in silence, my hands trembling, rage boiling. My family's legacy reduced to dust, and Brittany wanted me to thank her for it. But here's the thing. Brittany didn't just demolish a cabin. She woke up a storm she couldn't control. And I was about to show her what happens when you mess with the wrong man. Brittany launched into her rehearsed speech, dripping with fake sympathy. She claimed the cabin was a structural hazard, that she acted to protect the community. She handed me an official-looking order signed by a city inspector named Michael Davis. She thought I'd accept it like the others she'd bulldozed. But even through the haze of anger, my instincts kicked in. 15 years on the bench makes you sharp. The letterhead looked off. The signature was rushed. And the timing? Way too convenient. I looked at her, trying to steady my voice. And what violations justify this? Her smile widened. She rattled off a laundry list straight from the HOA handbook. Unauthorized modifications, improper landscaping, fence height violations. None of it applied. She was bluffing. As she spoke, I began snapping photos, the rubble, her smug face, and most importantly, that document. She noticed, her smile twitching. "You can call the sheriff," she said smugly, "but you'll find everything was done through official channels." She thought she'd intimidated me. She thought I was just another homeowner with no options. She didn't realize she'd just placed evidence of a felony directly into my hands. The deputy who showed up treated it like a civil matter. "Looks official," he said, glancing at the paperwork. He filed a report but left me standing alone in the ruins. That's when my focus sharpened. I sat on a splintered beam, turned on my phone's flashlight, and studied the demolition order. The details didn't add up. The inspector's name, Michael Davis. Oddly generic. I searched county records. Building department? No Davis. Code enforcement? No Davis. Fire safety? Environmental compliance? Nothing. Michael Davis didn't exist. Which meant the demolition order was a fraud. The realization hit me like a gavel strike. If the inspector was fake, the document was fake. And if the document was fake, Brittany had just committed felony fraud. I looked at the empty lot where my grandfather's cabin once stood. My voice came out as a whisper. If Davis doesn't exist, who the hell authorized this? That night, as the stars glowed above the ruins, my grief hardened into something else. Not just anger. Resolve. Brittany thought this was over. She thought she'd erased my family's history. But I was just getting started. And soon, the truth would bury her. The next morning, I was at the county courthouse by 9 sharp. Margaret, the county clerk who'd been there since the 80s, adjusted her glasses as I laid down the paperwork. One glance and she frowned. "This is highly irregular," she muttered. Emergency demolitions require multiple approvals and public notices. None of that's here. She pulled up the original permits. My heart pounded as she revealed the truth. Your cabin was built in 1974, 15 years before the HOA even existed. That makes it a grandfathered structure, protected by law. Her words hit me like a thunderclap. Not only had Brittany lacked authority to demolish it, she'd committed a felony by doing so. Then Margaret showed me something worse. Turner Properties LLC, Brittany's company, had been buying up properties tied to HOA disputes, flipping them to a mega-developer. 12 homes in 2 years. And my lot? The last piece of land blocking their $15 million luxury project. She hadn't targeted me because of fees. She targeted me because she needed my land. Brittany thought she was running a small-time scam. What she didn't know was that her greed had just turned into a federal case. That evening, Linda flew in. She's a lawyer with a mind like a steel trap. I spread the evidence across our dining table. Fake permits. Victim profiles. A paper trail of intimidation. She studied everything, her face darkening. Jim, this isn't just fraud. This is a criminal conspiracy. Wire fraud, mail fraud, civil rights violations. The FBI will eat this alive. We dug deeper. Brittany hadn't just demolished my cabin. She had systematically targeted vulnerable families, retirees, young parents, anyone who couldn't fight back. Fake violations, phony safety concerns, manufactured emergencies. And she documented everything. Victim research files, timelines of harassment, profits pocketed after forcing sales. This isn't about your cabin anymore, Linda said, her voice sharp. This is about dozens of families destroyed. She was right. My grandfather's cabin was just one casualty in a larger war. But here's the thing about arrogance. It makes people sloppy. Brittany had left a trail. And now, every forged signature, every fake order, every stolen property was about to crash down on her. She thought she'd silenced me. Instead, she had handed me the ammunition to end her entire operation. Brittany called an emergency HOA meeting. The room was packed, tension humming like a live wire. She strutted in with a PowerPoint titled Community Safety Through Proper Enforcement. For 15 minutes, she bragged about saving the neighborhood from dangerous structures. She even showed generic engineering diagrams, pretending they proved my cabin was collapsing. Neighbors murmured, some nodding, until I stood. Mrs. Turner, I said calmly, can you cite the legal authority that allows an HOA to demolish a grandfathered structure built before the HOA even existed? The room froze. Brittany's confidence flickered. She stammered something about community safety and all structures must meet current standards. I pulled out my phone, showing the county records. The cabin was built in 1974, protected by law. Your authority never applied. Gasps spread through the crowd. Elderly Mrs. Patterson stood, her voice trembling with fury. You destroyed that cabin illegally. Neighbors turned, angry whispers rising. Then Tom Miller, another victim, stepped forward with files. HOA minutes showing Brittany's pattern of forcing families out. The room erupted. Her empire of lies cracked in front of everyone. But Brittany didn't back down. No, she doubled down. And that arrogance was about to destroy her. Desperate, Brittany announced a community education seminar, live-streamed nationwide. Her goal? To teach HOAs how to handle entitled government employees. Linda and I prepared a plan. We created an anonymous account, Truth Seeker 2024. I'd ask questions in the chat, baiting Brittany into confessing on camera. The night of the seminar, the community center looked like a TV studio. Ring lights, multiple cameras, a flashy Turner Properties backdrop. Neighbors filled the room, while hundreds more watched online. Brittany strutted to the podium, glowing with misplaced confidence. She began boasting about her strategies, researching government workers, exploiting financial stress, applying legal intimidation until families broke. I typed, "What if you misjudge the government employee?" She smiled. "Impossible. They're all the same, underpaid, powerless, desperate. Take Jim Rogers, for example. Just a mid-level bureaucrat. No authority, no resources. Easy target. That was my cue. I stood slowly, the room falling silent. Actually, Brittany, I said, pulling out my credentials, I'm the Honorable James Rogers, federal judge. Her face drained of color. The audience gasped. The live stream exploded. She had just confessed to systematic fraud, directly to a federal judge, in front of hundreds of witnesses. By the next morning, Brittany's seminar clips had gone viral. Millions watched her boast about harassing families, only to discover her victim was a federal judge. Hashtags like #HOA Karen trended. Late-night hosts mocked her arrogance. The FBI called me personally. Judge Rogers, the agent said, her broadcast gave us everything we needed. Multiple states. Dozens of victims. She's finished. Neighbors who'd once been afraid now rallied, bringing forward their own stories. Retirees, young families, even veterans, all scammed by Brittany's HOA machine. Within days, Turner Properties LLC collapsed under lawsuits, federal charges, and public outrage. Brittany was arrested, facing decades in prison. That night, I stood where my cabin once stood, holding my grandfather's fishing license that had survived the wreckage. He always followed the rules, always believed in integrity, and I realized this wasn't about revenge. It was about justice. Brittany thought she had authority. She thought she could intimidate, manipulate, and destroy families for profit. But she forgot one thing. Real authority doesn't come from a clipboard or a title. It comes from truth. And the truth just put her behind bars.